The best thing that can happen to your LinkedIn post, somebody hates it. I think more than one person watching this will know that sometimes you're in the beta and you don't know you're in the beta.
I don't know if I'm doing this right. So what is LinkedIn good for?
I love that question. Whether you have a 9-to-5 job or a company, we all need to have a personal brand because we never know what's going to happen. Why wait until you have to tell people your story? You're not building a brand. You're building awareness of your brand. I can't stop seeing you. That's happening. But am I emotionally connected to that? Some people just don't need a podcast. In fact, one of my don'ts would be,
what are the things you do to grow your brand? Join me as we take a look at how the best in the business build authority and create true fans through video podcasting. I'm Josh Lewis, and this is Grow Your Podcast, produced by the Cincinnati Podcast Studio. So I'm going to just say, for those of you who are living under a rock and don't know who Angie Snowball is, you are a serial entrepreneur. You recently became the co-host of Serving Up Success with a Splash, right?
I did.
And that's a LinkedIn Live show, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you're on the, tell me if this is the right phrase, the LinkedIn User Advisory Board?
Advisor Hub.
Advisor Hub.
Yeah.
Okay, LinkedIn Advisor Hub.
Yes.
And in our circles, you're known as the LinkedIn lady. You got the blue dress and everything. It's perfect. And so, anyways, in my mind and in Brian's mind, like, you're kind of a big deal. So I just want to say thank you for being on here. And my very first question is, why LinkedIn? Why was that the platform you're like, I'm going to be an expert in this? Or was that like a conscious thought?
No, definitely not. Nothing I've ever done is a conscious thought. I don't think. Let's be honest.
Right.
I gotta say that. No, I think, well, part of it is I really don't care for social media. Like anybody else, I get wrapped up in Facebook, and especially in like TikTok. I just love watching panda bears fall out of trees. I mean, I get wrapped up in all that too. But realistically, there's so much noise and garbage that I feel like it almost builds anxiety. So I wasn't a huge fan of putting professional stuff into what I thought of social media, Facebook, Instagram, things like that. Okay. But I really got into LinkedIn because during COVID, my whole concept of business changed. I think everybody's did, right? I mean, who stayed the same? It was all crazy and different. And I thought I was teaching English as a second language to non-native speakers, specifically, professionals, like business professionals. So I thought, okay, who has this problem I solve? They need a native speaker. They can afford the rates that I can afford to eat, right? And they're not afraid of Zoom. And the answer was Japan. And I thought, well, I've been in automotive for years. Surely some of these connections I have can have connections over there. I mean, maybe it's a connection of a connection, but what else am I going to do? It's COVID. I'm sitting here drinking wine every day for breakfast. May as well do something productive, right?
Right.
So I started taking everything LinkedIn had to offer, all their courses. You know, I, like anybody else, hadn't opened the thing in 25 years. You know, I just dusted it off, you know, started filling things out, telling people what I knew, what I was doing, what had changed, and then started the search process. Who do I know that knows who I want to know? And through that, I got very active, and then LinkedIn started reaching out to me a little bit, like originally, like the way they reach out to many people, like your expertise is required. Yeah. But then it would kind of build up because I answered it. I'm like, okay, very cool. I don't care if you ask 100 people, I'll do it too. And so I started using that, just started getting more involved. And then I started getting clients in Japan. And that's when my business coach, who's also been on different podcasts here, Jim Diebold, said to me, all right, I know you like teaching English, but nobody cares. We want to know how you got a client in Japan from Cincinnati, Ohio. And that's kind of how I started getting into it, was showing people more, like, you can do, there's so much to do there. It was more in my own learning experience.
Okay. So you just started doing it, and then people were like, please tell me more.
Yes, that's kind of how it works.
That's insane.
And then it's like, are you sure? Because I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, right. But you're doing it. So I feel like half the time it's the practitioners that are, the people are actually doing stuff that people are like, yes, please tell me, because I'm not doing things.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
I saw this video today. It was of a YouTuber who was like, he was showing this picture. He's like, the difference between the people who like make it and don't are, you are here and here's the thing you want to do. And what's in between is doing it.
Yeah.
Actually just doing
I know.
it.
Like 100% of the things that you don't start won't end.
Right.
You got to start it.
Yeah.
And if you fail, that's the other thing. I think for a good part of my life, it had been ingrained in me and a lot of my generation to be successful, to succeed. What they missed was in order to truly succeed, you're going to fail. A lot.
Yeah.
And it's not about failing. Failing can be fun.
Yep.
Just make sure you're failing forward.
Yep.
You know, pay attention to what you learned. Enjoy the process.
Yeah.
And throw it out there and try. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. That's awesome. So, okay. You were doing all these things. Jim Diebold was like, how are you doing this? But how'd you get on the advisory hub?
So that's also something they reached out to me.
Okay.
And I still don't know exactly how they choose who you come to, but I will say that they liked the content that I was putting out.
Okay.
So they said, we see that a lot of people react and actually comment on your content that I was putting out, and I was creating conversations. That is a big, big thing that LinkedIn wants you to do, because they also, yes, they have paid plans, but they're not making a fortune off of that. They make a fortune off of ads and content, right? Like anyone else.
Right.
So they want you to stay on the platform. How do you do that? You make it relative, you make it relatable, you make it important for people to hear, entertaining, all those types of things, so that people create conversations. So when you get that like one comment, awesome, that's good. When you get somebody that comments on your comment, somebody else that comes back, the best thing that can happen to your LinkedIn post, somebody hates it and you argue. You make somebody mad. You'll have the best conversation on there. People go back and forth, back and forth. That's a great thing for your post. So I'm never upset if somebody says, I think you're wrong. Like, fantastic. Why?
Right. Yeah.
Let's talk about it. Let's make my post go viral.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Tell me
Thank
another
you for
reason why I'm
disagreeing
wrong.
with me.
I love it. Yeah. So I
Okay.
think that's a big part, was that I was creating conversations. They liked the content, and I was very active. So I think we've talked before about the social selling index on LinkedIn, your SSI. Mine was very high, because I was extremely active, and not just posting, but also searching, creating conversations in my messaging box, and being involved in groups, commenting in groups. A lot of people forget about groups. It's a great way to improve your visibility on LinkedIn. So I was using all of it. And I think that's why they reached out, because a big part of Advisor Hub is, hey, we're thinking about this. Will you be in the beta? We're going to roll this out to you first.
Okay.
But I think more than one person watching this will know that sometimes you're in the beta and you don't know you're in the beta. So LinkedIn isn't great about telling you all the time.
Gotcha.
Like, there were many times I'd be training people on how to use LinkedIn. I'm like, now if you push this button, and the whole room would look at me and say, I don't have that button.
Don't have that.
So like, okay.
Gotcha.
But then they'd send out, they have different things for you to send your feedback. If you have ideas, things you want to change, add, like LinkedIn audio, that's still available, but it got pretty harsh criticism from the beginning. So
Gotcha.
they didn't really push that, and they're kind of fading it out.
Okay. Interesting. So, okay, some of these questions I'm going to ask you are completely selfish, because I see these posts on LinkedIn about people ranting about how people use LinkedIn. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm doing this right. So what is LinkedIn good for? Like, how should people be using it?
I love that question. I think the answer is different for everyone.
Okay.
What we probably need to talk about is what you don't want to do.
Great.
But as far as using it, use it to learn things. So I love that people are like, well, I have a job. I'm very happy in my job. Even more reason you should be using LinkedIn. There's great articles. How are you going to do your own professional development? Not every company pays for that. Maybe they don't pay for the right things. Get on there and learn from people.
Okay.
Connect with people. Build your own promotion. Don't let somebody else decide when you're getting promoted. You decide. Build your career path, by finding information, by connecting with more people. Definitely building your own personal brand, whether you have a 9-to-5 job or a company. We all need to have a personal brand because we never know what's going to happen.
Right.
Why wait until you have to tell people your story?
Right.
How about when the bad thing happens, everybody already knows who you are and like, hey, Josh, man, I can't believe that happened.
Yeah.
I got a spot for you.
Yeah.
I know a guy. I know what you do. What I don't think we should be doing, and I think everybody would agree, we hate the in-mails that say, hey, I saw your post. Can you tell me more about your services? No, I'm not going to tell you or the 34 other people that tried to connect me with a robot. Like I have it gets to be so obvious. And I just think that's what we don't want is spamming people. Okay. And the same with, I use AI. I love AI. It's one of my best friends. We're all using it. But there's so many people that are saying, hey, chat, create my LinkedIn post for the month. And they're copy and pasting it exactly. That is boring.
Yes.
I could have gone to LinkedIn and done that. If I see you doing that over and over again, I'm tired of that. I don't want to watch you anymore. I will unfollow you so that I can see good stuff.
Right.
Interesting stuff in my feed. I'd rather people post once a month with something fun and interesting than post 5 times a week with chat GPT stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. That's helpful. Okay. So stay away from spamming. Stay away from AI only content.
Only, yeah.
So, okay, it's 2025. What are some of the things, like some of the biggest myths you think? I wrote brands still believe about LinkedIn. And so when I say brands, it can be personal brand or actual companies. But like, what are some things you're like, yeah, people don't understand this. They don't get this. They're thinking wrong about this.
So that's interesting you say brands. I think, and this goes outside of LinkedIn, but this is why it dribbles into LinkedIn. I don't think people understand the difference between branding and marketing. Branding is building an emotional connection with your company, your person. It's personal branding. It's your logo, but it's building a personal connection.
Yep.
Marketing is sharing information about that connection you just had. Marketing's telling me, hey, these are my products. These are my services. This is how I can help you. Yeah. So those two things are very different. And I think to your point, companies get on LinkedIn thinking they're building a brand by shooting out the same colors of cookie cutter images every day, pretty much saying the same thing. Hell, I don't know what it says because I'm not going to read it.
Right.
I already saw it. I saw it yesterday.
Yes.
You're not building a brand. You're building awareness of your brand. I can't stop seeing you. That's happening. But am I emotionally connected to that?
Yeah.
You're not building a brand. Brand awareness and a brand are also different. So I think that's a big myth. And I think individually, we were talking about this before, connections. Yeah. The more connections I have, the better. Everybody's got a third-party robot building connections to them. And that's, what are you going to do with them all? What if they're garbage? What if you get some guy that's going to troll your page and be a nightmare, right? Yeah. Or what if you have 100 people that join you in a week and then you don't talk to them? That's not great for your LinkedIn social selling index. It's not great for your brand because you're connecting to people that you're then not talking to. So I think just being aware. Now, followers are different. Have as many followers as you want because they just want to see what you're posting. And maybe you make those followers connections later. But in the beginning, just don't run out there and get 30,000 connections that may or may not be the kind of people you want to build a relationship with.
That's okay. That makes a lot of sense. And so I'm curious, what are some of the things that you get excited about when you see people doing this kind of thing on LinkedIn? What are the kinds of things you love to see people doing on LinkedIn?
Short form video.
Yes.
I know. I'm not saying that because I'm in his place. I swear. Like, it's probably why he asked me. I was kind of wondering why I got to be the guest.
I was actually going to, and we're going to get to this because I actually do want you, like, I want people to poke holes in what I'm promoting as a strategy for content creation and things. But we'll get into this more. So you were saying short form video. you love seeing people do that on LinkedIn. Why?
I do, because I think it's one of the best ways to show people your personality. Like if you look at my picture, you might think that I have it all together and I'm an organized professional corporate woman. Anyone who's worked with me at Ford or P&G knows that's not true. I didn't fit in there very well. I'm a very creative person. I like things to be flexible. And I mean, we all get organized at times, but I like the creativity side. And so the short form video lets people know that for me, life is too short and it has to be lighthearted at times. But not everybody wants that either. There's different personality styles. Like, whoa, she's extra. I am extra, by the way. Well aware of that. And some people don't want that. And that's okay. That's great. We don't waste time. And maybe I like that person, but if we tried to work together, we wouldn't. I've told more than one person, it's actually getting more common. I really like you, so I don't think we should work together. Because I don't think we would when we're done.
Yes.
And part of that's because and that's why I like to share my personality. That's why I like to share yours. How can you build a relationship when you don't know what somebody's like?
Right.
When you see them, they can write all day long and you get an idea. Maybe they're funny. Maybe they're, smart about this, but you don't feel them. You don't see their eyes. You don't see their body language. We learned so much about people that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. Like, Cause I'm thinking about you and your profile specifically, like, cause like at the beginning, it's like, oh yeah, it's like you do look like super buttoned up and whatever. And it's not to say like you are very professional. You're also hilarious and you're awesome.
I think I'm funny. Thank you.
You're fun to like talk to and like you feel like a real person versus like super stiff and like cold, and so that I love that.
Oh, thank you so much. That's very sweet. But I also think it's very true, especially if you're in marketing, because there's a lot of marketing. I just talked to a lady today. I broke my heart. She's paying a ridiculous amount of money to do one of these 9-week free programs, and then you upgrade and whatever. And this woman has not yet covered the basics of LinkedIn. So she's just taking her money and doing it. And I thought, how can you live with yourself like that? But check out that lady's profile. She didn't have a single video on there. So being real, I think also lets people know they can trust you. So I know my stuff and I've got some great experience, but this is also who I am. And I need you to know that because I need you to know I'm going to do the best I can for you.
Right.
And I think it's the same with you guys. And it makes, when we see your personality, we feel comfortable coming here. We know we're going to have fun. We know it's going to be this great professional environment. That's really important. Your videos do so well on LinkedIn. I know because every time I open it, I see one.
Yes.
And if you're on mine, it's working. Like it's like, oh, there they are again.
I love it.
Yeah, no, you guys do a great job.
Thank you.
Are you looking for a place that you can create the content that helps market your brand? Or are you somebody who just needs a space that they can record a podcast, record talking head social content? You want to create a webinar, a course, or other content like that? Take a look at the Cincinnati Podcast Studio. We're a space built just for creators like you. Our studio here in downtown Cincinnati, located right next to all the hot restaurants in OTR, is set and ready for you. We can have up to 4 people in our studio. You can record long form, short form content. It looks awesome. The lights change colors. I mean, even there, hi, in the background. What's up there, guys? We have all the technical amenities to try and help you succeed at creating high quality content. We work on everything from subscriptions to create your own show. We do day rentals so you can create massive volumes of content and we'll just hand you all the footage. And we can even do things like limited time series where you can come in, record a bunch of episodes at one go, and then have that ready for a show to market your brand or your business. So whether you're an entrepreneur, a brand, or an author who's looking to market themselves with high quality video content, check out our website at CincinnatiPodcastStudio.com and schedule a tour today.
The thing I really want to ask is about how to best post things on LinkedIn from your video podcast. So we've got the whole content creation system of the long form, chop it up into short form. But based off of your experience and what you've heard LinkedIn say that they like, what are the best ways to post that content on to LinkedIn, like, should we be posting the full length episode or not? Or does that make sense?
It does. So there's a couple different things. So LinkedIn Live they do like that, but that's not easy to do. It's really a pain.
Right.
Like you have to go through a third party. Hopefully LinkedIn doesn't cancel me, but you have to go through like a third party thing, and it's not easy to do that. So, but if you're doing your own, I would more recommend that for like a webinar or a 30-minute, like I'd like to give you information about that. That's when I would use LinkedIn Live, not for your podcast.
Okay.
For podcasts, the answer is I don't know yet.
Okay.
One, because it's moving quickly. I do know that LinkedIn is highly pushing short form.
Okay.
So what I've been playing with, and it seems to be working really well, is that we take the shorts that you're talking about that you took from the long form. I like to put this short out there a week before. So then say, hey, next week's podcast will be, and then actually showing the link to the full one the following week.
Okay.
So I'll take a short and then say, hey, next week, look forward to this. So a little bit of a buildup. And then I will continue with the shorts. I know Brian did this for me with ours, did a couple different shorts. And then each one you just link to the full episode. But I would at least do one where you're just putting the short because LinkedIn likes that.
Okay.
So I think one to lead up and say, hey, check this out. Also, just plain old branding and what common sense.
Yeah.
People want to, who goes to a movie without watching the trailer? Right? I mean, everybody wants to see something that's fun or interesting. Do I want to spend 30 minutes of my life, 45 minutes of my life to see what they're going to talk about? So I think that's another reason it's good to use those shorts. Another piece that I like seeing on LinkedIn, in addition, like I love the podcast, I love the shorts, and I'm actually going to do this myself with these guys, so you should definitely come do this. Just take a few of your most frequently asked questions and answer them in a video form. And then use that as your short because you're also giving information. You're making yourself relevant. So, I mean, come in for an hour and, do 6-7 questions, whatever you can squeeze in. Get it professionally done so it doesn't look like you're sitting in your backyard, which is where I would normally do it.
Right.
And, people are like, what's behind her? What's going on?
Right.
But just a few that you can keep around forever. There's nothing wrong with turning your phone on and getting a clip of a networking event you're at. Those things are still awesome too. Or your kids or whatever you want to add. But I do think it's a really good idea to have a set of your frequently asked questions answered in very short form, like 2 minutes or less. I like that too.
Okay, that's good. So with the short form, I think I can overdo it. I almost exclusively post short form video. Is that a problem?
No, I don't think it's a problem at all.
Okay.
The biggest thing on LinkedIn is you got to be you, right? Because otherwise you're going to meet somebody and you're going to bait and switch somebody. Yeah. And honestly, everybody's attention span is shorter than a goldfish. Well, we got like 7 seconds now or something. Yeah. So I think the more you do short form, the better. Just if you really have something that's compelling, then, and you're not going to get it out, do long form. Like our podcast is about an hour, but there's 3 people weighing in with 3 different opinions, kind of having a conversation. But honestly, I don't want you to watch it if it's not a topic you don't like. I don't want you to be bored. Right. So I want to have those short forms out there to do that. So I think short form's great. In fact, one of my don'ts would be, I know everybody can podcast, everybody can do in their basement, everybody can do that, and they do, but not everybody knows how to. Too many people just buy the mic on Amazon, turn it on, which is great for some people. Yep. I mean, I did that for Business Without Borders, and it was okay. But there are a lot of people out there that, honestly, we've seen them. They're boring. They're so boring, and they're doing it for themselves. They're not doing it for the other person. Like they come in with a script and they want to do this. And I'm like, nobody wants, that's not a conversation. Yeah. You're not asking really any questions you want to hear. You just, your turn to talk, my turn to talk. So I think if you are going to do long form, work with somebody that can give you some advice, that gives you honest feedback so you can adjust it and make what you're doing, better. Yeah. Right? Even ours, every week, our producer keeps us half hour afterwards and says, you were boring here. You talk too long here. You need to cut her off. You need to cut him off, and helps us get better every week. So don't just make 100, hour and a half long podcasts that nobody's going to watch.
That's
Get
really
some
good.
feedback.
Yeah. So that's really helpful. I think it's very important. One of the things you alluded to is like every post has an audience. And so you have to be making things for others, essentially.
Great advice.
And so that piece is helpful, but also review the tape. Like whether it's somebody else or you're like, I was editing a podcast, my next episode, and I was making a list of things I need to change that I'm hopefully changing on this episode. That I'm like, I need to do that differently next time. But and I'm gonna ask Brian to give me feedback on each episode too, of what I can do differently, because you want to be giving value is what I'm hearing, and you can't just. Everybody needs a coach in some form or fashion.
We probably all need like 5 to 10 coaches in different things.
Different areas. Yeah.
I have 2 to 3. I mean, hell, I mean 4. But I have a lot that I use. And I think you hit the nail on the head. Make sure you have an audience, because otherwise you can save yourself the money and the time of mics and lights and cameras. Just stand in front of the mirror and talk to yourself. Right? I mean, really, just make sure somebody wants to hear what you're saying. And a lot of that goes back to just basic communication skills, listening, learning, looking around.
Yeah.
Do you have something someone wants to hear?
Yeah.
If not, keep it to yourself.
Right.
And go get smarter.
Right.
Go learn new things that somebody wants to hear about. So that's why I love the concept of learning. I never want to stop, because people are like, are you tired of new AIs? I'm like, no, I find each one, I'm making cartoons of myself all the time. I think the more you learn, the better, you know? I mean, I'm not going to use everything, but otherwise we get boring. We have to continually reinvent ourselves, especially if we're going to be like you and I and Brian and try to help other people and share information. I have to have something worth sharing.
You could do your podcast as a LinkedIn Live. But again, make sure you're getting feedback on that. You're also saying, like, I think I heard you say you can use Lives as like a webinar platform. Yeah. Like that's something you can totally do. Have you seen anything good, bad, indifferent about just any sort of longer form video, whether it's 5 minutes, 15, 30, an hour, that's pre-produced. So not live, but like the pre-produced stuff. Have you seen
I've seen a lot of that.
Yeah.
I think pre-produced is great.
Okay.
And there's not a huge difference. So LinkedIn Live is a very specific thing to use. So you will, and if you look back at my old podcast, The Business Without Borders, I did live.
Okay.
And I did that because I wanted to utilize the LinkedIn Live. That's when LinkedIn was having us try things. I was one of the first people. Like you had to have LinkedIn Live. So that's why I used it. I didn't want them to take it away from me.
Nice.
Yes, how I got on the Advisor Hub, that kind of stuff. They're like, okay, she's using it. I mean, the minute I got it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to do something. Right. But I did like where I could also, I got StreamYards, the one I use, so that I could put it to other platforms. Yep. But the big part was so I could download it, so I could still use it on my YouTube channel. Yes. So when you're doing something live, make sure that you can, because there's a lot of benefit to long-term video. Mm-hmm. Also, people act like, well, I already did that. If you did that 6 months ago, you can run that sucker again, as long as it's still relevant. Yes. I mean, I don't remember why I walked into the kitchen half the time. So you can definitely put that on there again. And you're going to get different people every time. It doesn't mean that if you run it twice, it's going to be like, I saw that yesterday. I mean, you might have a whole different group of people that see it when you run it again. So long form's great, especially it's all about quality to me, whether it's short form answering your frequently asked questions or long form giving some detailed information, a training, a more in-depth conversation that's answering a lot of questions. Long form pre-produced is awesome. Also, you can edit all the stuff out if you're doing it. It's like all the bad words, all that kind of stuff. So, yes, you can get all that out of there. So I don't think it matters as much if it's live or not. I mean, Joe Rogan doesn't do it live, right?
That's
I mean,
true.
there's lots of people that don't do it live that
Yeah.
are super famous. So
One of the things you had mentioned before with the shorts is also making sure you post like a link to the long form. Is it bad to like post like a YouTube video, a link to the long form? Like does LinkedIn not like you going
So,
off platform? Like
in theory, okay. And I would say, so this actually used to be in my training because it was a big deal.
Okay.
Like they don't want outside links. I even had a little workaround that you could get in there to, edit. It's not a big deal anymore.
Okay, great.
So they do want you to stay on the platform. They want you to create a conversation, but you're not getting penalized like you used to for putting that outside link, especially if it's a video. Going to YouTube, because you're still likely to create conversation on LinkedIn
Yeah.
based on, if you notice when you put the long forms in, because I've been playing with this with a lot of my clients, have long form video. We get a lot of comments like, I'm looking forward to watching that. Like they're not going right away. They're saying, I'm looking forward to watching that. Did you talk about, so there's already some conversation in there. And that's really the key.
Okay.
Is creating the conversation. So whether you put the link in or not is not really killing you.
Okay.
It's creating the conversation with your post. That's really the key.
Okay. So if creating the conversation is important, how important, so if what you're trying to say is primarily say in the video, how important is the caption or the text that goes along with that?
Well, that's a great question. And they argue amongst themselves with that a lot. So I think what's most important is that you're thinking more along the lines of not necessarily. So there's, again, you kind of got the super techie aspect, SEO, what's my hashtag, what's my alt text, all that kind of stuff. You have that aspect of things that there is that piece. I'm not going to speak to that because we'd be here forever and everybody be bored. Right. But what I do think is important with the text and caption is to put in there a question that grabs people. So how do I start a podcast? Why do I need to have a podcast? Something that, what are the biggest mistakes I can make on a podcast? Things that people are going to be Googling questions to. That's what I like to think of when you create your title. Okay. Because that's a failure that I've made a billion times and I think everybody does, because you get in your own head, you're like, oh my gosh, such a cool title. This is going to be awesome. And then you talk to somebody else like, what's it about? I'm like, what do you mean, what's it about? Like, it's all right there, man.
Right.
But just to be simple, and that's where Chat, Gemini, whatever you're using, Copilot, especially Chat's deep research is really great on helping you create titles that will catch attention. I do recommend going to AI to do that research for that, save you time. But a good title is important to catch people. And again, I really love that you guys do the clips. I think that's so important because not everybody's going to want to have the time to click on the long form. But almost everybody will sit there and go through the short form. And if they get 5 or 6 of those short forms, that they're like, you know what, I am going to watch this. So I love sharing that. Like, you have the clip, share the full length. You can catch the rest here.
This is more of like a finish this sentence sort of thing.
Oh, fun! I love games.
The fastest way to tank your credibility on LinkedIn is
not be yourself. Use too much AI that you just sound like a bot and nobody knows who you are. Okay, I think that's the fastest way. And I actually just recently got this feedback. So they have their parsing and things they find out, but too many emojis is a giveaway that you got it off chat and you didn't do anything to it. And you look also like you're in kindergarten. So I don't need a rocket before every sentence.
Right.
So
it's the rocket.
It's the rocket.
I don't know what it is with the rocket, but that's like a dead giveaway.
I know. Yes. What are you, 5? Put your rocket away. Get to work. So that drives me crazy. It really does. So, and I get like emojis for, there's arrows, there's things that make it eye-catching. But just don't put like so many that you just cut and paste it. I think that tanks because people know it's not you. Authenticity is how you win.
Okay. I can still do the smiley face emoji because that's what I normally do.
Yes.
But okay, cool.
That one's good.
What is one thing you wish every brand with a podcast would stop doing on LinkedIn?
Oh, it's those, the ones we talked about. Don't talk to yourself in the mirror. Make sure your content is relative. It's not going to be relative to everybody, but make sure you have an audience. You nailed it, Josh. Like, make sure you have an audience because there's so many podcasts out there. And I hate to pick on them, but man, those business coaches, they love to interview business owners and they have the same 3 questions. I love to have a business owner interview. I think that's interesting. Yeah. But don't use the same 3 questions. Don't have the same conversation with a different person. It just wears you down. You know what I mean? Like, just ask them different questions.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. The podcast that's dropping today, I interviewed it was like a former journalist, and I'm like, how do you be a good interviewer? Because I need to know this. And I can't wait to see that. And part of it was he's like, do prep work. Like, too many people, like I feel like I was more prepared for this interview than I was for others, because he was just like, you cannot over prepare, and in order to be interesting, you have to be interested. And so, like, you have to make sure that you prepare enough in order to be able to riff on the fly, but also, like, if you don't have good chemistry with the person, if you don't think that that person has something for your audience to offer, and if you can't get it out of them, then it's like, you shouldn't be doing that episode. Like, don't just do it to do it.
What a great statement.
So
you have to be interested to be interesting. I like that one. I think that's very true. And I think you can tell too, a lot of the podcasts, they have a script.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about a script with questions that I'm talking about they're writing everything down and they're writing this and you feel that they're reading it. And there's some people just don't need a podcast. I mean, some people, you're
true.
Yeah. And it's not that you're not good at it, you're not good. Maybe your value is better somewhere else. So don't force yourself into something that's not you.
Right.
Some people are brilliant writers, but when you put them on camera, they're uncomfortable and they're forcing themselves to get out there and do that. I'm like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
You're a brilliant writer. Now you're taking away from the thing you're great at because you look scared and not confident.
Yeah.
Be yourself.
Yeah.
You're confident as a writer, stay a writer.
Right.
Or whatever you're doing as CPA. If you're a great CPA, but you don't want to have a podcast, don't. If you're a fun CPA, Eric Bonnie's a fun CPA. Yeah. He did a podcast. He's fun. Great. Yeah. Thank you for making tax not suck.
Right.
But exactly. I mean, know your place, know what you're comfortable in, and just play to your strengths. Don't feel forced to do it just because it's popular.
Yeah. That, and as much as I love this medium, I 100% agree with you. Like, we have a video podcast fit assessment, and it kind of like walks you through. It's like a self-guided thing, and at the end, you kind of it assesses the answers to your answers to the questions, and it tells you based off of what you said is a podcast for you.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome!
And spoiler, not everybody. There's like 3 levels. There's a yes for sure. There's a this probably could work, and there's a probably not for you, or at least not right now.
Yeah, and I think what's important is all those answers are okay.
Yes.
I mean, if everybody had a podcast, the world would be so noisy, nobody would see anybody. So we'd all get 3 views because there's no you see anything else.
Yes.
So it's okay to not have a podcast if that's not where you're comfortable. Exactly. I love that you do that because I think a lot of people are feeling the pressure to do that right now. There are other ways to be seen.
All right, last question, unless I think of another one. What is one thing you wish every brand with a podcast would start or keep doing on LinkedIn?
So one thing I like, a lot of the podcasts that I watch on LinkedIn, I love that they focus on not necessarily a topic, but a question. And I honestly, I don't like the way our podcast does it, to be honest, because they take a topic, but it's hard with 3 people.
Sure.
So ours is a little different. But on LinkedIn specifically, I like the podcast that addressed a topic. of one question. Not like, hey, let's talk about podcasting. Not, hey, let's talk about LinkedIn.
I see.
I would rather have a podcast that says, what's the best way to build a relationship on LinkedIn? And then bring like 2 people on and have a conversation. What are you doing that's worked? What are you doing that's worked? What hasn't worked? And really go through answering that question. Yeah. Because then I know, just as a watcher, I know what I'm getting in for. I know I'm going to get the answer to that question.
Yeah.
Do I have that question? Yes. Did I have that question? Like, sure, I got it right. Did I never ask that question? Skipping that one. But that is a good thing too, because there's too many podcasts I've been 10 minutes in and I'm like, this is dumb. This has nothing to do with me.
Right.
And I never go back to it. But maybe they had 20 brilliant episodes that I missed, but because the first one was misleading and there was no trailer and I was invested and like, this had nothing to do with me, I kind of write it off. So I wish people would be more specific about what am I going to take away from this podcast? What question are you going to answer me? Because then you get the right people watching and sharing. Like I will share it. I'm like, hey guys, they answered this. There's an answer in here. I'll share that. So I'd like to see more of that.
Okay. That's really good. I love that. All right. So if people want to know more about you and like, they're like, I need help. How can they like get in contact with you? How can they follow you? Are there specific things for specific people that you're like, I have this thing, this kind of person would really benefit from it?
I am getting better at that. So I really have restructured a lot to be, part of it's just time constraint, but I've restructured to I'm more in like there are still one-to-one where I can do private coaching, and you can find that on my website, www.angiesnowball.com. And you can book and pay. Everything's all automated until you see me. Surprise. So we still have one-to-one. I do one-to-many stuff. So if you have a company or a group of people that want to learn how to use it, integrate it with the company, we can do that like on site. And then I have a lot of people that are doing their own, which I think is fantastic. People are like, oh my gosh, what if everybody's going to do their own? I'm like, that would be awesome.
Right.
Nobody knows your story better than you do. It would be great. So I think Brian even took one of these courses for me to find all the mistakes. So we worked those out.
I love it.
But I have online courses. They're pre-recorded and you can take them at your own pace. Like take this one, go do it. Take this, do it. You can take a month. You can do it in 2 hours if you want. So I have that way for people. And then the last thing I have is that for people doing their own marketing and they really want to get a little more deep dive strategy, what's changing on LinkedIn? Are there new functions? Or really, we talk a lot about AI. Like, what are some of the new AI tools I can use to create content?
Awesome. Yeah.
And how do I adjust it to still fit my brand on LinkedIn? We have a monthly meetup, and that's $15 a month. So anybody can afford that.
LinkedIn Loop?
That's the LinkedIn
All
Loop.
right,
I mean,
sweet.
just join us on the LinkedIn Loop. It's a subscription, but you can cancel at any time. It's the second Thursday of every month, and it's at noon or 1, I don't remember, but it's around lunchtime.
Yeah, right.
So get your lunch, have a nice calm lunch, and it's great interaction between. It's really a mastermind because there's a lot of really brilliant people on there doing their own marketing. So it's a lot of good questions. I have to say, I usually learn more than I teach, much more, which is great for me. But that's another way for people that I'm kind of reaching the one-to-many that like, I don't really have the budget for this, but I can do my own. So can I do that? But everything's on my website. You can find it there. And you can also follow me on LinkedIn. I usually answer those pretty quickly.
Awesome. Sweet. Well, all the links will be in the show notes. And thank you so much for being on here. I so appreciate you. You're just fun, but also like your expertise is just so valuable, I think, for my specific audience. So thanks for being on here.
Oh, are you kidding me? I'm so excited you asked me. I feel so honored to be here. You guys are doing great things for the whole city, the community. I'm really, every time you guys ask me to be involved, I will be here for it.
I love
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Hey, if you're getting any value out of this conversation, would you please like, subscribe, rate, review, share this video, do all the things, and get the word out about this podcast. We are really trying to help podcasters like you, brand builders like you, use video podcasts in the best way possible. Thank you so much for your time, attention, and trust, and we will see you next time.